Zwigato has been the new movie hitting the theatres last Friday, and it's open to rave reviews. It tracks the story of a food delivery executive trying to make the best of algorithms and eking out a living. What's interesting and very different about it is that it stars Kapil Sharma, known best for his comedic experiences and appearances in this role. It's actor Nandita Das's third directorial debut, and while it hasn't quite set the box office on fire yet, it definitely seems to be a game changer in the way that we see the lives of the food delivery guy. To speak more about this experience and why she chose this subject, I'm joined by Nandita Das. Nandita, thank you so much for speaking with us on the Times Network, and congratulations on all the great reviews Zwigato is receiving.
Thank you. Thank you. Not just reviews. I've been getting so many messages, both directly and through social media. And it's not just been that I like the film. It's really been a lot of sharing, lot of deep diving into their own world, their prejudices, and people are bearing themselves. I mean, I think it is somewhere pricking the conscience, and that's what the aim of the film was, to show us a mirror that we all are so absorbed in our lives, and we forget to even notice so many people who are just invisible around us.
Yeah. Tell us about the theme. It's a very different kind of a theme for an Indian movie, for a Hindi movie, which has a theatrical release. You've featured the life of a delivery food guy. How did you come upon the theme and this idea for the story?
Well, it was born during COVID times. We were all sort of at home. We were saying, stay home, stay safe. And yet we knew that so many people were neither safe nor did they have homes. And in that time where there was a lot of anxiety around, growing joblessness, and people were doing all kinds of menial works just to sort of make ends meet, gig economy seemed like a savior. But it was a new form of employment. I mean, each person was just in with themselves and that gadget that they had. And it wasn't a traditional setup where you have co-workers, you have a boss, so it was a new form. And these young riders were grappling with the world of ratings and incentives and algorithms. So the world was changing, even in cities, urban cities of India. And I was always curious, what is their life like? How do they even deal with, considering I'm so bad with math? And I was like, their rules must be changing. How do they know where to go? What if the address is wrong? So it began more out of just curiosity and some amount of empathy. And then when I started talking to the riders, I interviewed many of these riders, and we started feeling that there's definitely a story in there that needs to be told. And it's not just the food rider's story. It's also about his family. How does it impact the family? It's also about that world. Everything that modern India has thrown up, right? With all the modernity, we are still grappling with so many disparities of gender, of class, of caste, of religion. So I realized that even if you're telling a 4-day story, there is a lot that you can shed light on. And I think that has been, for me as well, an interesting sort of revelation that if you're making a modern times, like how Chaplin did Man and Machine, we are trying to grapple, we're trying to tell a story of man and algorithms, but we're also telling a story of our times. So it's a slice of life film.
Yeah.
Just if we can take an hour and 45 minutes to just look at the life of all these people who quote unquote serve us.
So I have a couple of questions. One, of course, is the choice of your protagonist. Off the top of my head, I would have not thought of Kapil Sharma in this role. And a lot of feedback is also of how he's presented himself.
How would I?
Oh, you did? So he wasn't your first choice?
No, I didn't even think of him as an actor. Like, you don't think of him, right? He's a television star and he's big into comedy. I had never seen his show before I cast him. I don't have a television for several years now, and I had seen nothing of his. But he popped up on my screen, as they say, serendipitously, and he was hosting an award function. And I saw that little clip and I thought, wow, here is this person so unassuming, candid, natural, your everyday guy, has a deep connect to ordinary life, when he talks as an ordinary person, even though he's not anymore, you kind of believe him. And there was something very, very candid about him. He seemed very comfortable in his skin. And so I just got his number from my casting director, who also I think fell off his chair, and then messaged him, and he promptly responded, and we met. And both of us met not knowing exactly what this was. His first question, Kapil also asked me, he said, "Aapne mere baare mein socha kaise?" Like he was also shocked कि इस role के लिए, how did you even think of me? But in that next 10 minutes, we knew that we wanted to work together, and we may seemingly come from very different worlds, but when we actually started talking, I think he discovered my funny bone and I discovered his serious side, and we kind of actually gelled quite wonderfully.
Was it easy working with him? What was the experience like?
Yeah, I think he completely submitted to this new process. He's done 2 films a while ago, but they were very different kind of films. So this was new for him. But I think he thoroughly enjoyed sort of he said, my life has been just home and the show, through the studio. He said, I haven't even experienced the sun. And he would say things like, "मैं तो भीड़ की खुशबू भूल गया था." So I think he definitely enjoyed, and so did I, and Shahana, who is his co-actor and who's wonderful in the film. So I think he's very easy. He's actually a very easy person to work with. He's a very generous actor. Sometimes these big stars can be slightly selfish as well, but neither of them were like that. They were very, very generous to each other and to all the new other actors who were all local from Bhubaneswar. So yeah, there was a natural ease. Of course, it was a different thing for him, but acting is also a very collaborative thing, right? It's a combination of the director and the actor, and you together bring out something that you have imagined. So I thoroughly enjoyed that process.
Ms. Das, my next question is on how you think this film is faring or is going to fare. Just a quick sort of Google search on Zwigato right now has 2 different kind of stories and headlines. One is about...
to be honest, I don't know it. I haven't searched it.
I have. I've done that for you. So
go ahead.
So let me tell you. So it's 2
okay.
it's 2 different kinds of sort of messaging. One is that great movie, a lot of critical acclaim, slice of life, and the other has done terribly at the box office. First day didn't even reach 1 crore, etc. Does that bother you? Do you think that a cinematic release was the best platform for your message at a time when the only movies that are working are huge, starring blockbusters made with crores and crores of rupees, spent on special effects? Where does your Zwigato fit in?
Right. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, unfortunately, theatre has now become only for those big action films or, like you said, VFX heavy films. But my best memories of watching films has been in theatres, because I think it's a wonderful collective experience. It's an individual experience where it's just the screen, the story that you're watching and yourself. It's a very immersive experience. You are not distracted with phones and ghanti and, in the house, those billion things that are happening all the time. You can keep pausing the film. So it's a very immersive experience, and yet it's like a collective experience that you see with strangers, but you still have that experience together. You laugh together, you sigh together. So I don't know why we should not have that wonderful experience also for films that are not big blockbusters. As far as box office is concerned, if that was my trip, I would have never made films or never acted in films, the ones that I did. So for me, every audience is important, and there are thankfully enough people. As proportions, as percentages, they may be less, but in absolute numbers, there are still enough, I think, who connect with films like this. If the social media response that I'm getting, or even on WhatsApp, people are sending what their child said, what their mother said, not just their responses, but what their friend said, it seems very, very overwhelming. I choose to tell stories in a more sort of real way. That's just what I feel comfortable. I've not grown up seeing a sort of hardcore mainstream cinema. So the kind of cinema that I relate to, that's the way I want to tell stories. And I'm not so unique. I'm sure there are other people who want to see those films and, you know, want to be part of that kind of cinematic experience. So
no, sure.
I'm
but you know
still very happy. And
what has
I think in
happened?
terms of
What has
profit and
happened
loss,
recently?
but-
What has happened recently, Nandita ji, is that a lot of these kind of films, and I'm just, you know, broadly typecasting, but realistic sort of content
Right.
has
Yeah,
migrated
more
to
sort of
OTT,
independent.
has migrated to, you know, OTT platforms.
Right.
Do you think that's a bigger sort of messaging
Well,
on
it's
where we're
thanks
going?
to applause entertainment.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, OTT has been great. It's democratized a lot of the processes. Many new actors, new directors are being able to tell their stories, be part of such stories. But this whole black and white, where theatre is only supposed to be for big films, in fact, I'm really sort of grateful to Applause Entertainment. It was their decision. Sameer Nair, the CEO, decided it needed to be a theatrical. I'm glad that he had the faith in it. And I think in the long run, no one's going to lose money, because I also made it at a, you know, at a budget that was not over the top, because profit is all dependent on how much you make it for. So once you make it in an affordable price, sooner or later you will get back every penny that you've put in and more, hopefully. So I think they will be well taken care of. And what about all the people who've actually gone and seen it? I know people who have said that even after the lights come on, there are people who are sitting and watching it, like talking with each other, you know, or looking at the graphics at the end, in the end credit, because the end credits are really important. So, you know, people are not walking out during interval. They said people are not going out to even get the popcorn. They're just sitting and thinking. So, I mean, we've also got those reactions, you know. You can't please them all. It is not a very sort of typical Masi film where there is dramatics happening every 2 minutes, or there's melodrama happening, or there's big plot and all of that. It's about little nuances, and I think not everybody appreciates it, but I think there are still enough people who are sensitive, who are happy to kind of go through an immersive experience of looking at someone's life. So I have to say I'm quite pleased with the response.
So as far as the box office numbers are concerned, does that bother you at all?
No, it doesn't bother me, because I don't make very massy films in that sense. And, you know, I mean, massy in the sense when you try to, what becomes a hit? When you try to please a lot of people. When you try to please a lot of people, of course, you can't have that many nuances. You have to lower your basic, you know, what is your baseline. That is just the way things are. And, you know, some of the big films that have really done well, you know, have a very different way of telling that story. So if that's a choice I've made, both as an actor and a director, I'm not in any illusion that I'm making a different kind of a choice, and it comes with its own limitations. But do I want to ever change that? Do I want to just try to make it in a way that is not sort of, you know, that's not instinctive for me? I wouldn't do that. So honestly speaking, I'm not bothered by it. Of course, I wanted to reach out to the maximum number of people, and I do urge people to watch it. I do urge people to, you know, take out a little time for the working class stories, because they are vanishing from our films because they're not working, you know. So the more you see such films, the more people will invest in such films.
I
you know,
actually
those
want to
stories are
ask you
just
about
going.
that. I actually want to
Earlier
ask you about
times we
that.
had a coolie, a rickshawala,
Right.
a clerk, a office goer as our protagonist. Now we don't. And that's the reality. So, you know, audience is as much responsible for this shift.
Yeah, no, I actually wanted to come to you exactly.
There's a bit of a lag, so maybe we're talking over each other.
That's all right. I actually wanted to come to you exactly on that part, that the key protagonists in movies that work are very glamorous now, ultra rich. They live in luxurious, you know, places.
Exactly.
And you have taken a celebrity and put them in a backdrop, in a backdrop which is very everyday and common. Do you think that this is also something that people want to see, that audiences want, but because filmmakers' focus now happens to be sometimes just on box office or popularity, they cut these stories out.
They do, and you know, a lot of the people also feel कि ये तो आ जाएगी OTT पे, तो पक्का आएगी, which it will. But it'll come after a few months. You would miss the experience of, you know, seeing it in that dark theater, which is very, very special. So a lot of the time they think, अच्छा OTT पे आएगी तब देख लेंगे. We want to spend our money only for those big experiences. So we have also somewhere, that is what we are telling people, that when you want to see a big action film, then come to the theater. You want to see, you know, life stories, realistic stories, stories about people, stories about you and me, then you go watch it on OTT. It's tragic because, you know, these kind of stories will slowly vanish even more. And is that what we want? I mean, don't we want real life stories to be reflected in cinema? I mean, what is really the role of cinema? We say it's to entertain, but I would say it is to engage, it is to challenge our prejudices, you know, it is to create empathy. And if that's what the film is doing, I feel like it deserves a better chance.
Do you think that, you know, you will get back to acting on the next project? What lies ahead for you? As an actor, Nandita, you've been very, very choosy about the projects you choose, you take up.
Yeah, over the years I'm becoming choosier. But yeah, I've been reading scripts on and off. I mean, when I'm making a film, of course, it's very hectic, but before and after. And in fact, I have a couple of scripts lying on my computer that I have to read soon. And I hope to do a bit of acting in between. I've already signed a film, which I'm going to direct next. I've begun researching for it. So now the gaps are definitely closing in. My first film was Firak. In fact, it was released today. So, you know, it's really strange that somebody, in fact, a journalist wrote a piece that Firak was released today. I'd even forgotten. And yesterday was the day when we finished the shooting of Zwigato last year. So I guess these days are kind of important. No, actually, today is the day we finished the shooting of Zwigato last year, and the day that Firak got released. So Firak was 2008, Manto was 2018, 10 years later. Then Zwigato was 5 years later after Manto. So definitely the gap is closing in, and I feel like now I'm a less hesitant director. I think this is what I really want to do. I enjoy the whole process of making a film, starting from its inception of the idea and seeing the whole journey and living through it. And I'll definitely also be exploring some acting projects in between.
You know, I wanted, you know, your comment right now on where Indian cinema is going. We've, of course, hit a high with the recognition at the Oscars, RRR winning Best Song, etc. And domestically, there's been this whole conversation about South films versus Bollywood, etc. Where do you think your kind of cinema fits in?
You know, world over, that's a question. You know, where does independent cinema, where do films that are really exploring life fit in the big, whether it's big Hollywood films that are eating up a lot of small fishes, or whether it's big Bollywood or Tollywood or whatever you call it. I think they will always exist. There will always be artists, filmmakers, you know, who will do the work that they believe in. And however difficult it may be to produce or to put together projects like this, they will find ways, because you almost feel compelled to tell those stories. And I do believe there is an audience for it. But till producers, distributors, audiences, filmmakers don't form that unsaid, unknown coalition and support each other and believe in these projects. Otherwise, economics will always interfere with art, and we will, you know, only be seeing sort of larger than life, escapist cinema. And it has its place, of course it has its place. But I think if we would be doing, as audiences, we are doing a great disservice to ourselves, because every such film that you actually watch, go to the theaters and support and watch and take back something from it, more such films will be made. And this is not an act of generosity, you know. I mean, while I'll be grateful that if you watch it in the theaters, but, you know, at least give yourself that experience. I think we remain sensitive and compassionate only when we care and when we, you know, empathize. And the books we read, the films we watch, the people we meet, if you see those things, that is what keeps us rooted and empathetic and caring. If that's the person you want to be, then you've got to watch such films too.
A question a lot of people ask, and I think which is why maybe independent movies get a bad rep, is people think that it's going to be very documentary-like. They will be preached to, and they will not be entertained. How do you keep that balance? And would you say Zwigato is also an entertainer?
I mean, depends what entertains you. Somebody just dancing, violence entertains a lot of people. I don't watch violence at all. I feel, normalizing violence, glamorizing violence is for me, grotesque. Like, I don't think I want to do that. Seeing regressive stereotyping of women or, LGBTQ or any community is not entertainment for me, So it depends what entertains you. So I would say I want to see cinema that engages me. As long as I'm riveted, as long as I'm with the characters, I'm traveling with them, I'm journeying with them, I'm interested in what is happening, I'm fearing for them, I'm laughing with them. That's what entertains. For me, that is entertaining. So the kind of films I watch, that I would say, yeah, it's a very engaging film. You laugh also, you smile also, you cry also, you worry also. I mean, something that takes me through all those emotions and makes it sort of an immersive experience. I mean, what is an hour and 45 minutes? Sometimes we just have so many blinders and so many labels. Ye commercial hai, ye art hai, ye documentary hai. I mean, documentaries, well-made documentaries can be more riveting than a fiction film. It depends. Documentaries have got a bad name because pehle zamane mein bahut boring documentaries hoti thi. We used to see sometimes those films division documentaries before a film, and we think that's all documentaries are about. Anything that reflects life in an interesting way, how is that a bad thing? But each to their own.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't think you won't, don't go with preconceived notions. Don't label cinema and art. Nandita, we wish you the very best of luck. I'm looking forward to watching Zwigato in the movie halls. I hope our viewers do as well. Thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Tamanna, and I urge all of you also to watch it and give yourself a chance. At the very least, what would it be? A loss of 1 hour and 45 minutes, but trust me, you won't regret it.
Thank you. Thanks, Nandita.